What's going on, boys? Thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, arm yourselves, life stuff. I was planning on this not being an order development video, but I passed out an unknown number of hours ago, and I just woke up, and I feel like I feel like I've slept through an ice age, and I don't know where I am or what's going on. I didn't get enough time for those ideas to percolate the way I like them to. But we're going to pull a bone tomahawk and start shooting from a rest position. Two recent events have contributed to a growing feeling I'm trying to figure out what to do with. The first one's the petty one, but it feels important. Imagine you are running a marathon for charity, and it's a situation you buy a spot, but the winner isn't supposed to matter, there aren't really any stakes, it's for the good of all. But then, after you've been led to believe that, you find out winning did matter, there were stakes, so now not only have you lost money, but also you've gained nothing for what you've done and what you've contributed, and you're being treated as if you're a bastard who did not contribute at all. And this is typical shit, and I should be above and beyond this. And if this were 4 years ago, I would be hurt. And I am hurt on some level. But nowadays, present me is more angry than anything. And I feel this desire to fuck up everything. I'm tired of consistently getting shit on whenever you try to do the right thing. Big mistake. I'm tired of shitty little two-faced liars. And I'm tired of people going unpunished generally. Why are there consequences only when you're trying to do a good thing? But there are never any consequences for people when they want to do any number of bad things. And then the next thing. The less petty, more confusing, somewhat desperate, wider thing. So I live in a somewhat historic area. And you know the way farmland is being taken over by corporations instead of being run by families. I don't know why people aren't talking about this, but it seems like corporations are doing the same, or quietly starting to do the same things in historical areas. They don't just want to own your stomach or part of your mind, they want to own your history. They want to own the narratives you use to contextualize your existence, because then you're easier to control. So there was a local government piece of legislation I was rather fond of that was designed to fight this. Now, this is inevitable. These companies and these high net worth individuals have so much capital it really doesn't matter. They're going to get what they want at some point. But the retards who live in this area, they hate outsiders, one, and they love their local businesses, too. Or at least they claim to. They don't actually. Everybody hates each other. And I hate white people. This is the first time I've ever lived in... Well, you could say everywhere is a white majority area, even though that's not the case. Where I used to live, there was a nice balance between white and black and degrees of brown. Here, it's all white. All white. And it's funny, because they hate black people, but how do you hate people you've never met? There are like 3 black people in this whole fucking state, and you can tell they haven't lived around them, because they act like the stereotypes they claim to hate. These are dirty... When you say white trash, you don't see actual white trash in the South. White trash in the South might dress shitty, but there's this oppositional hatred work ethic between poor whites and blacks in the South that maintains a level of quality despite the trashiness. Out here, people dress better, but they are lazy, they're stupid, they're everything they say they hate about other races. Anyway, these retards and this legislation. So, this legislation targets outsiders primarily, but in state people get hit a little bit. Not much, little bit. Targeting tourists passing through for the history. And supports local in-state small businesses. What kind of legislation does that elsewhere? I've never seen that anywhere else. Personally, we're exploiting outsiders to prop up in-state local businesses against a corporate takeover. So if a small family-owned business is suffering, you apply for this money. This is a grant you for-profits can get. Expand your facilities, or you can use it just for operational stuff. You need to hire somebody and you can't pay them. Use this money. Use this money we have shaken down outsiders for. And these fucking retards, the subhumans of the state, got rid of it. Why did they get rid of it? Because it cost them probably $2 a month. And these are the people who complain about China constantly. You fucking traitors. You're going to sell your sovereignty for $2 a month. You say you hate outsiders, and what a shame it is all these corporations and other people are coming in with all their capital from outside and fucking up your culture, and then you sell the people propagating your culture out from underneath them. Dumb motherfuckers, dumb shit, quotes, Americans have no values. They have no identity. They don't... I want to make a video about this. I was supposed to make an MBTI video about this, but we'll talk about it here. Sneak peek. I don't think people actually believe anything. They're going to say whatever and then vote for whatever will benefit them in the smallest ways in the short term. So you, dumb shit, you're gonna get your $2 additional dollars a month. Good for you. And now you've accelerated your foreign capital cancer. They make me sick, and I would like them not to exist. Americans don't deserve the nation they're born into. This video, if it weren't an order development video, it was going to be titled Fuck the Greater Good. Or if that caused problems with the YouTube robots, it would have been, quotes, the greater good. There's no way to make things good for everyone. And even if there were, for a time, would you want to? Because let's say you did manage to make things great for everyone. Most of the people you're making things great for, if you're pursuing this greater good and actually getting anywhere, they'll sell what you've put together out from underneath you. For $2, they'll sell you out. And then, once they get what they want, they'll go back to complaining. Because, of course, they were complaining when you were making their lives better. They're going to complain even worse once you aren't. Thanks to their actions. These people don't deserve to live. Or, in a lighter way, they don't deserve to be considered. They, if anything, maybe they deserve to live in exploitation their entire lives. You sit there and gather value like a blobbish filter feeder, and we, your betters, harvest it from you. That's what you deserve. So, two things I've been thinking about, but haven't been able to codify properly because I fell asleep and am now existing 1,000 years from when I fell asleep. That was some god-awful sleep. You know it's bad. You sit up straight out of bed sweat's all over your face, your clothes are half off. How did that happen? Where am I? I know it was dark out. Why is it this dark out? Why is that lamp on? Shit. In-group preference we're working on, and homework we're working on. I'm beginning to enjoy me some Mussolini. I'm not a person who can embrace anybody. Can't embrace most people, can't even embrace select people, and I don't want to. So I'm thinking about this. What are the basic characteristics a person needs for me to feel comfortable embracing them as one of mine? Mine. Well, I think the first struggle is a person accepting and working with their faults and their evil. Not to overcome them and become good, to become white morally, because that doesn't exist, but to forfeit the illusion battle of goodness, of self-improvement, the idea that with enough work, you can become good and be great and have none of the bad. It's false. It's a tool used to control you. It makes you weak. It fits you into a pattern, and it prevents you from knowing yourself. It keeps you from your humanity and your strength. Your individuality and your power comes from the parts of yourself you are most afraid of and most ashamed of. That was another thing I wanted to talk about in a different video, but we'll save that for another time. Or that side of things. The first in-group preference tenet would be accepting I'm not perfect, I don't want to be perfect, and perfection is an illusion that rusts out good steel. I am a frail, mortal bastard, and I'm going to try to make that work for me, and I'm not going to hide from it. And I'll figure out a way to simplify that and all these into some nice little propaganda slogans. That way it's easy. But not right now. Because again, I just woke up from cryo sleep. Second in-group preference tenet would be in-group preference. I don't care what happens to other people. They don't deserve care. I care only about my people. And with that comes rewarding or venerating in-group sacrifice. How many times have you sacrificed for other people and been paid for your sacrifices with shit and degradation, and not even in a fun way? My relationship with individualism is getting tricky. I think we're getting to a point practically and spiritually we need to start taking bullets for one another. But the issue is there's nobody worth taking bullets for. We're looking for people dedicated to whatever we are. And we're trying to be worth that dedication. The individualism and collectivism thing, as individuals we sacrifice for us. As us, we take care of our individuals. Third tenet, although it would be... There's a way to fit all these together. I think this would have fit into the second one, but the willingness to be a bastard to out-group people on behalf of or for the benefit of in-group people. Like the VC Kurtz talks about in his polio vaccine story. The fourth tenet would be something like a sense of place or self-understanding. But typically when people say that, they have this grand, flowery idea of it. Whereas when we're talking about it, we're not exactly talking about it on this self-actualization, self-congratulatory level. We mean understanding exactly where and how and why you fit. As ants, we understand what ants are in the bigger picture, what ants are supposed to do, and we're operating not in delusion as much as anyone can operate not in delusion. This is tricky, and it's another one I'll need to spend more time on. Fourth would be understanding how to make yourself valuable. The way to describe what all these tenets would constitute is an awakened component of a greater machine. We all understand and have accepted our places, our responsibilities. Or as Kurtz would say, we're dedicated, our eyes are open, looking at it. How do you do aristocratic populism? The people are better than all other the peoples. Well, I think the first step is writing a marching song about how much you love women of color. It's really funny that Facetanera, I didn't know the lyrics, and it's of songs of that era, that's one of my favorites. And upon learning the lyrics, everything is making sense. The genes are sequencing. How can they be so based? I want to understand what makes me willing or able to embrace someone so I can embrace them, or I can have an easier time finding people to embrace, and then getting people to embrace the people I don't want to embrace. Because I think people are looking for love and approval too. They want to belong, they want to feel recognized. I think it's mainly a matter of making clear what they'll belong to and what they'll be recognized for. I think if you can make that clear, getting people or training people to become the sorts of people you would embrace would be a lot easier. It's kind of like directing volunteers. The good old VD. If you want volunteers to work on a particular project, but you don't want to impose on them, you don't want to give them orders, all you do is on your delicious whiteboard or corkboard, whatever you have, you put up a sheet of this year's major problems. And then, not wanting to be ordered around, but wanting to feel useful, wanting your approval, wanting to feel like they're saving the world, your volunteers will start autonomously coming up with ideas to deal with those things, or taking small actions to deal with those things. If you want something done while preserving others' autonomy, you don't tell them to do it. You, from your throne, think about visibly the things that must be done, and then, wouldn't you know it, they start getting done. And that's another thing. With volunteers, people you are not paying, so people you can't really fire, people who have nothing at stake other than their wanting to help, unless it's really bad, you don't be negative with them. Praise is your accelerator, apathy is your brake. If you want someone not to do something and it's not a huge deal if they do it, you don't give them shit, you don't praise them, you just say whatever. And again, magically, those things that have had apathy applied to them dwindle into not happening. Not always, but enough. There are ways to control people without controlling them. And this is for numbskulls who don't intuitively understand what we're talking about. And then the next thing we're talking about or thinking about for now is homework. I think it would be fun next year if, for 2 or 3 months, a number of people committed to attending their city's city council meetings. You write reports about your local issues without doxing yourself or your city, of course. And then we get a boots on the ground view of what's wrong with this diseased nation. Because people might be reserved if you're there at first. City council meetings are actually smaller and quieter than you might think they are. Depending on where you live, I suppose, but even for medium-sized cities, nobody gives enough of a shit to go and see what their rulers are talking about. And if you ask the right people the right questions, once they understand you're not a threat, they will talk to you. People love nothing more than bitching about things they hate. And when it comes to governing, there is a lot of hate. And the idea of this homework, aside from being interesting, seeing what different cities from around the nation, our great nation, are concerned with, is also to start fertilizing the soil and planting seeds, let's say. The more exposed you are to this sort of thing, the better off we'll be. Just keep quiet and watch. Learn as best you can the way things really work. And I was going to... This was supposed to be for a different video, but one of the reasons I like order development videos is, analytically speaking, these perform so poorly, I know I have an idea of who I'm speaking with, or speaking to. Dressing well actually isn't that bad if you figure out how to do it. For instance, for the longest time I thought dress shirts were those stuffy, uncomfortable, shiny things, and that's why I never wore dress shirts. Well, now I have a small collection of linen dress shirts, and people give linen all kinds of shit, but the beauty of linen, even though it's not as pretty and shiny as standard dress shirts or whatever, is it's breathable. It does wrinkle up, but it takes wrinkles well, so you can work in it, and it's comfortable. You can wear a linen dress shirt like you would a long sleeve t-shirt with no problems. So, good tip. One, I wish someone had fucking taught me that so I could have been dressing a little bit better earlier and been comfortable. Buy some black linen dress shirts. Get comfortable with wearing them. Or any black tops are fine, but dress shirts are nice. Linen dress shirts are very nice. Sturdy utility cargo pants. The sturdiest cargos I've ever owned are Duluth fire hose pants. Color doesn't really matter, but you want as sturdy as you can get them cargos. And we would do this if it weren't fashionable, but somehow, in fashion circles, dressy tops and cargo bottoms are fashionable. Don't know why or how that happened, but it's convenient. Third, boots. Style, color, whatever, doesn't matter. Your feelings matter. Boots you would trust your life with, or boots you would get married with. When selecting your boots, trust your heart first. And then, of course, buy some kind of gun that's going to be reliable. I want us to figure out how to participate in determining how our lives are going to turn out. I am sick of watching things happen. We'll work on formalizing these ideas as time goes on. Maybe we'll organize something, who knows. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.